Welcome back, everybody. Today we have a very special project and one in which I have been waiting a long time to do. We're going to add a border and a frame to a special archival table. And here is our table. This is made out of mahogany flooring, which is on the back side of this. It's former hardwood basketball court. Flooring was torn up, but it was turned into a table. And today, we're going to go ahead and put a mahogany border around the outside. As many of you know, I always like to use reclaimed lumber, and that's what we have here. We have some former reclaimed lumber of mahogany that came out of a house that got remodeled. So we have to take this down, mill it, prepare it to put it around the edges. You can see that over the years, somebody has painted this wood. So we're gonna have to go ahead and prep the surface, cut it down to size. And there's also this framing around the outside. Now this is not mahogany, that's pine. But we're gonna have to pull all these nails out of here, and I have a metal detector that'll help me run through here before we put it on the table saw. All right, so we've got this initial milling down, cut to its original width and thickness. And now what we need to do is I'm gonna hit this with one quick sanding on the outside to get this smooth, because we don't wanna necessarily do it while it's on. You don't wanna scuff the work. Also, you can see here what I've done is I've gone around and I've indicated where the screws are already in there. So I've put those all across the board. That way when I drill and sink screws in for the new fascia, I won't hit any of those screws. Our next steps are we have to sand down the polyurethane so we can have the glue stick to it, and here on the edges as well. We now have completed all of the removal of the thick polyurethane that we had on the edges there, and also here. So we've sanded these down. Our next steps are that we're going to take this piece of wood, which is cut already to be the exact thickness of this railing, and we are then going to rip it to this height that you can see here. I've cut down the lumber to the size that I want. This piece will be on the outside, will be the fascia that runs around. And then this board will buttress here, and I'm gonna go ahead and secure it to the underlayment that you see here, okay? So when you bring these two together, you see that that's flat. Then I'm going to measure evenly across here and put in pocket hole screws. Pocket holes, and these pocket holes are not exactly in order, and the reason for that is this table had screws drilled. You can see that the screws were drilled, and the screws are not in any particular order, if you will. They're not evenly spaced. So what I wanted to do is to make sure that I put the pocket holes in the places that I sit on top of where the screws are. That way when I go to drill holes and drill into this, I have two things. One, I can go ahead and make sure that I don't hit any of the screws. And also, I'm going to want to be able to space across here equally the fascia that's going to sit on. I'm going to want to drill into those, and those need to be even around. What we're going to do before we put on our pocket hole screws is we're going to create a half lap joint. So what I'm going to do is come in here and cut this away, chisel, and then this will lay completely flat. And then we can glue and screw this down. This is my test piece, and we'll do the same thing around the entire piece. You might remember we were doing these pocket holes, and underneath, exactly in that spot, these are where the screws are, okay? Now what I've done then is I'm going to drill screws in after we glue right here in these areas, and I've spaced all of those out. And what you'll see here, kind of eyeballing a little Kentucky windage here, but it's somewhere between 25.5 centimeters each is where I will be putting in a bolt when we put the actual face shut on here. So I'm going to drill the piece of board in there, and we'll put it right in between here. So I need to make sure that there's absolutely either a nail or anything that's going to keep us from connecting in here. So as you can see, we have completed creating the under portion, the undercarriage, if you will, in which we are now going to connect our side pieces. The reason why I want it as thick like this is a table that needs to have some heavy aesthetics to it. It needs to look like it's really, really big and strong. And while you're just dealing with very small, about a 1/2 inch thick of these boards, which you can see here, by putting a nice fascia that's thick, it's going to add a really beefy piece to it. Our next steps are we're going to drill some pilot holes along the side here so we can screw in some deep bolts on the other side to secure those big boards over there. What's important is this wood is so incredibly hard, is when I put the drill in there and it goes through there, the moisture in the wood heats up, gets so hot, but it can't come back out because the fiber is pinching my drill. So when it goes out the other end, the smoke comes out, it pops because it releases the pressure inside there and it explodes, and the moisture can't get out any other way. Well, I got a little help today from my good buddy Lee. And this is Lee's table, so let me tell you what we're doing here as we're getting ready to put on the final outside frame of this thing. We wanted to add ourselves, for a little more stability, a frame on the inside. So we're completed that, which will end the final frame. Put some glue on and screw it in for us. So we flip the table over, and now you can see what the initial rough flip looks like. We got to do some sanding around the edges, clean those up. Got to put a chamfer on the edges to make sure that we can, when people put their arms up against here, it doesn't hurt them. And then once we clean up, like for example here, got a little bit of overhang, I'll trim that down, sand it. So we've got the coat of lacquer varnish. I know varnish and lacquer are the same, but we've got that coat on. We're gonna let that dry. And later this afternoon, the owner will come and pick this up. They're gonna bring some legs. We painted the legs red. Not sure I would take that color, but I wanna see how this is gonna look. We'll install those legs and get her going. So our owners have arrived. We've now flipped the table back over. I'm not gonna show you how I did this there's a lot of reasons, time, and I'm not particularly proud of how we figured it out, but we're gonna now put the legs in. We're gonna drill and put some bolts in and get ready to roll. Here we go. After a little bit of work, the legs are ready to be flipped over for the big reveal. All right, here we go. Ready for the big reveal, team?